We're recording, Grandma.
Hello. We wanted to try to get these to you before Christmas, but we didn't make it. So we're reading a couple of Christmas stories that we hope you will still have some fun with and know that we think of you and love you very much. So this story is Mary Englebright's A Merry Little Christmas, and I really like her illustrations and wanted to read it. A is for angel atop a tall tree, aglow with the light of what Christmas should be. B is for boxes with ribbons and bows, and boots that we wear to keep warm in the snow. C is for cookies and candies and cakes, and a cup of hot chocolate that grandmother makes. D is for doll houses, dump trucks, and drums, built in the workshop before Christmas comes. See, all the characters are little mice, animals. E is for elves, so sprightly and small. When Santa needs help, they answer the call. E, oh, this is F. All right. F is for frost on a cold winter day, when snowflakes are falling and friends come to play. Maybe there's not so much snow in California, and we don't have snow here either. G is for gingerbread cottage. How grand! The best decorations are those made by hand and with lots of candy. H is for home and happy hearts there, and the holiday hoopla we all love to share. Maybe not this year, but hopefully in another year we will. I is for ice skates on lakes smooth as glass, and icicles hanging from each house we pass. J is for jingle bells sung loud and long. What fun we have singing that old jolly song. K is for kaleidoscope, kite, and kazoo. Oh, how I hope that dear Santa comes through. L is for letters to Santa's address, as friendly reminders of what we'd like best. Did you write a letter to Santa? Maybe drew a picture of something you wanted from Santa? M is for mittens, woolly and snug. Mom helps put them on and then gives a hug. N is for the North Pole. It's Santa's home base. His great jolly smile helps to warm up the place. O is for ornaments, fragile and old. Mom says they're priceless, more precious than gold. P is for presents, I wrapped by myself. Dad says really good, like the work of an elf. Q is for quilt, nestled up to my chin as I drift off to sleep until Santa drops in. R is for reindeer that dash through the night and land on each roof on a blanket of white. S is for sleigh bells so merrily ringing. Each jingle holds promise of what Santa's bringing. T is for tinsel that hangs from the tree and all the toys Santa has left there for me. We used to have tinsel on our tree growing up, but we haven't, I don't think you all have tinsel on your trees. And we don't have tinsel on our tree now either. U is for uncles and aunts at the door, bringing kisses and cousins and presents galore. V is for village with windows aglow, warm and inviting and dusted with snow. W is for wreaths on windows and doors, our warm way of welcoming those we adore. X is for the way we mark days that have passed. Now laugh and be merry, it's Christmas at last. Y is the Yule log that glows strong and bright as we share favorite stories by its warm, dancing light. I remember reading books sitting with you all like that, and I hope we get to do it again someday soon. Z is for the zillion ways Christmas brings cheer. May its magic shine on every day of the year. That's the end. Love you all.
And I'm going to read, you're going to hear, my book is going to be, oh, I'm going to set it down here. I forgot about that. A Christmas Tree for Penn. And I've already read it. So we love you very much. And we can't wait to be able to see you soon, like maybe this summer.
I
hope so. Yeah. Okay. So we're done here. We love you. Bye-bye. A Christmas Tree for Penn. On top of a steep, craggy mountain lived a bear of a man named Uther and his small daughter Penn. Uther was a big, gruff man. He had a loud, booming voice, large, rough hands, and a bristly black beard. Penn was a small, soft girl. She had a quiet, gentle voice, tiny, smooth hand, and two bunches of hair bouncing off the side of her head. Every morning Penn crawled out of bed and made a hearty breakfast for Uther. "Good morning, Papa," Penn said. "My name's Uther," said Uther. "Good morning, Uther," said Penn. Said Uther. Uther loved his daughter very much, but he was a bear-like mountain man who did not soften for anyone, not even Penn. He ate his breakfast of hot porridge, honey, and steaming baked bread. It was late December. The trees stood dark against the sky and the white snow. Uther pulled on his heavy fur coat and fur boots and set out off into the woods. While he was gone, Penn cleared away and washed the dishes. She swept the floor, made the beds, and fluffed the pillows. Penn poked the fire and added more wood. She wanted the cottage to be snug and warm when Uther returned from a cold day's work in the woods. At the end of the day, when the wind whistled around the cottage, Uther returned home. He stamped the snow off his fur boots and burst into the cottage, slamming the heavy door behind him. Penn had set the table and ladled out a large bowl of steaming soup for Uther. She set a small bowl for herself. "Good evening, Papa," said Penn. "My name's Uther," said Uther. "Good evening, Uther," said Penn. Said Uther, and with a grunt he began to eat the hot soup. Penn watched him eat in silence. "Uther," said Penn, "Christmas is coming. Do you think we could have a Christmas tree this year?" "No Christmas tree," said Uther, continued to eat. Uther was a big, gruff man who did not like to speak when he ate. "I could go with you into the woods to find the perfect tree," said Penn, "and we could decorate it like the people in the village do." "No Christmas tree," said Uther. "It wouldn't have to be a very big tree," continued Penn. "I could make decorations and we could have a real Christmas for the first time." Uther put down his spoon, wiped his bristly beard and mustache with the back of his hand. He looked at his tiny daughter, whose eyes danced brightly in the firelight. "How very much like her mother she is," he thought. "We'll see," said Uther. And with that, he crawled into the large wooden bed and fell asleep. Pin sat and stared into the fire, imagining what it would be like to have a real Christmas tree in a cottage. She knew it would not be as beautiful as the decorated trees she had seen in the village. She had been saving bits of odds and ends that she had found in the woods that might make a fir tree into a real Christmas tree. On Christmas Eve morning, Uther ate his thick porridge and honey and drank a large mug of strong coffee. Pin ate her porridge with hopeful eyes and watched the huge man. Uther pushed away from the table. He pulled on his fur boots, bundled himself into his fur hat and coat, and thrust his hands into a thick mittens and picked up his heavy axe. Pin held her breath and waited. Without a word, Uther stomped out of the cottage. Pin jumped up from her stool and quickly pulled on her fur boots. She became tangled in her fur coat and scarf as she scrambled to put them on. Her fur hat slid down over her eyes. In her rush to get ready, she fell over and sat hard on the floor. I'll surprise Uther, Pin said to herself. I'll find the perfect Christmas tree and will cut it down myself and bring it home. He did say, we'll see. Pin pushed open the heavy door. She struggled through the snow, stopping now and then to catch her breath. Finding the perfect Christmas tree is hard work, she thought. Suddenly, a heavy clump of snow fell from a thick branch above and buried the small girl under its weight. Before Pin knew what happened, Uther scooped her up by the scruff of her neck with one hand. He held her at arm's length and shook the snow off her. What are you doing out here in the cold? He said. A big snowstorm's coming. I wanted to find the perfect Christmas tree, said Pin, and surprise you. Uther stared hard at his daughter as she shivered in the cold. In one swift move, he swept her off her feet and placed her on his shoulders. Together they trudged into the dark woods. Papa, said Pin. My name's Uther, said Uther. Uther, said Pin, where will we find a Christmas tree? You'll see. They came to an open meadow at the edge of the woods. Christmas trees! Exclaimed Pin. Said Uther. But how will we find just the right one? Asked Pin. She could barely see through the thickly falling snow. And then she saw it, the perfect Christmas tree. There, she said, over there. Uther tromped to where she pointed and stopped. Pin squirmed on his shoulders with excitement. That's the tree, she said. That's our Christmas tree. Uther hefted her off his shoulders and dropped her into the snow. Pin disappeared from sight. Uther reached down and pulled her from the deep snowdrift. He plopped her up on the large gray boulder. Don't move, he said. Before he chopped down the fir tree, Uther and Pin bowed their heads and gave thanks to the fir tree for allowing them to cut it down. In 3 swift chops, Uther felled the tree. He grabbed Pin by the arm and tossed her back onto his shoulders. He gripped his large axe in one hand and grasped the trunk of the tree with the other. Father and daughter headed back to the cottage. Pin could not take her eyes off the fir tree. My first Christmas tree, she thought. The cottage was nearly buried under snow. Thin blue smoke rose from the chimney and vanished into the thick air. Uther stamped his big fur boots outside the door. The snow was falling harder. The mountaintop was shrouded in whiteness. Oh, Papa, cried Pin, it's the most perfect Christmas tree. My name's Uther, said Uther. Uther found an old tub and filled it with water. He placed the fir tree in it and braced it with stones so that it stood tall and straight, just as it had done in the snowy meadow. Pin clapped her hands and danced in front of the tree. It's beautiful, she said in a hushed voice. Just beautiful. Now you have a Christmas tree, said Uther. Oh, but it's not finished yet, said Pin. We have to decorate it. Said Uther. Pin dashed across the room and opened the wooden chest at the foot of her bed. From inside, she took out a collection of all the things she had found in the woods. First, she took out abandoned birds' nests, some with unhatched eggs that had dried out but were still unbroken. Pin reached into the wooden chest again and pulled out a number of old wasp nests with their intricate honeycomb pattern. She pulled out several small hornets' nests that she had carefully wrapped in paper. Large acorns tumbled onto the floor from a small bag. In another bag, she had collected bright red berries. Then she took out her most prized treasures of all, birds' feathers that she had gleaned during her walks in the woods. The feathers were of all sizes and colors, shimmering blues and green and vibrant reds and glossy blacks and purples. One by one, she carried all the treasures and placed them carefully on the floor in front of the fir tree. Now we can decorate the Christmas tree, she announced. Uther silently watched as Pen bustled about the tree, carefully placing the nest so that the eggs could be seen. She tied bits of string to the tops of the hornet's nest and hung them from the ends of the branches. She tucked the wasp nests so that they shone pale against the dark green of the fir tree. Pen hung the acorns all over the tree. She sat on the floor and, with a needle in hand, strung the berries onto a long piece of sturdy thread. That's what she's doing. And here's his little mouse that's always been showing up under Uther. Uther held her high so that she could hang her ornaments on the topmost branches. He helped her wrap the berry garland around the Christmas tree, starting at the top and carefully working their way down to the bottom. Now the feathers, Pen said. Together they placed brightly colored feathers among the branches until the fir tree glistened with color. It's beautiful, she said. A real Christmas tree. Uther stared at the tree in amazement. It was beautiful. Wait, he said, and stomped down the stone steps into the cold cellar. Pen could hear him rummaging around below. Uther clumped up the stone steps into the light. He held a small package. Here, for your Christmas tree, he said. It belonged to your mother. He handed the small bundle to Pen. Pen stared at it. What is it? She asked Uther. Open it, he said. Pen slowly unwrapped the package. Inside was the most beautiful bird she had ever seen. It was made from real feathers with 2 black beads for eyes and 2 long feathers streaming from behind. Pen stared at Uther. I made it for your mother, Uther said softly, for the top of the tree. Pen carefully held the bird in her hands. It's the most beautiful bird I've ever seen, Pen whispered. Uther gently lifted her, and Pen placed the bird at the very top of the tree. Uther set her back on the floor, and the two of them gazed in wonder at the Christmas tree. In the firelight, the feathers of the bird glistened and shimmered. A real Christmas tree, said Pen. A real Christmas tree, said Uther. Thank you, Uther, said Pen. My name's Papa, Uther said. Thank you, Papa, cried Pen, throwing her arms around his neck. The fire burned low. Pen yawned. Uther quietly carried Pen to her bed. Good night, daughter, said Papa. Merry Christmas.